Let's go ahead and run a PowerShell script to create a virtual network. We'll also create few subnets using PowerShell. In the previous video, we created the virtual network and subnet using the graphical user interface. But as you know, everything that's done through the graphical user interface can be scripted, can be provisioned using a PowerShell script. Let's learn how to create a PowerShell script and provision resources, specifically in this case, a virtual network in Azure subscription. The command to create a virtual network is new-az virtual network. Right now, there are thousands and thousands of commandlets which Azure has. It is not technically possible to memorize all of these commandlets in your memory. Because you create storage, you restart virtual machines, you create and provision virtual machines, you do so many activities in Azure with PowerShell, becomes difficult to remember them, to memorize them, and to recollect them at the right time. Microsoft has given us a weapon in PowerShell, get-command. Get-command is a commandlet to search for the command in Azure's database and all the modules that are there on your computer. So let's say you want to get a command that starts with a string or that has the word called network in that commandlet, right? So all you have to do is just put network or your string in your quotes in wildcard, and this will search for this particular string in all the commandlets in Azure in your repository or in your modules. So when you execute this, it should show me all the commandlets like that. So every commandlet that is there on the screen has the term network inside it. For example, this one, it has update -Azure RM storage account network rule set. So this is just an example, but every commandlet that you will see in this list will have the string called network in it. Similarly, let's say you want to create a new network. In that case, I will prefix it with new. So this will show me all the commands that start with the word new and has this string called network in it, right? Let's execute that. Well, there are so many of these. As you see here, there are some of them which are pointing to EC2, which is AWS specific command. So like I said, it is searching for all the modules, and I have AWS modules as well on my computer. So if I want to filter it and narrow down to a particular module, you can just type -module and then the module name like Azure or AWS or whatever. But in this case, my focus is just to get the commandlet which is new-Azure RM virtual network. That is a commandlet to create a new virtual network. Now, we do not use Azure RM anymore. We just use AZ like this. So yeah, you can definitely create virtual network with new-Azure RM virtual network, but it's preferred to use the latest commandlets, which is new-az virtual network. You can of course look at the version numbers here on the right side, which is 1.1.3, 1.13.0. Well, let's go start using this commandlet. So I'll get rid of this, but always practice this get-command, and you will use it when, let's say, you are not able to recollect a particular commandlet. That's when you will use this form or method of getting your favorite command. I'll get rid of this now, and that's the command new-az virtual network. Okay, and then the name of the virtual network, let's call it some random name, alpha beta, and then the resource group in which it should be created is tech IT department. Yeah, and the location in East US, and then I would also need an address prefix for this network. Let's say the address prefix is, I'll put that in a class A network this time, because when I was creating a network using the graphical user interface, it was a class C, 192.168.00/16. This one I want to create in a class A, so it will be 10.0, maybe 10.20.0.0/16. Close the quotes. Okay, and I will make sure that I put inside a variable. Looks like my insert is on. I'll put inside a variable called new vnet equals, yeah. And now let's execute this and see what happens. It should create a vnet, and the attributes of those vnet are stored inside a variable called new vnet. The reason why I've stored it inside a variable is so that I can use this variable moving forward when creating subnets. Right, looks like it is created. And what's inside $vnet? $new vnet. Okay, well, that's that. I've got a new vnet called alpha beta, and its header block is 10.20.0.0.16. Let's create a subnet now with a command called add-AZ virtual network subnet configuration. That's the command. But like I said, you do not have to ever memorize this. You can always use get-command to search for the commandlet you're looking for. Okay, so the name of my subnet will be, let's call it as private subnet or private underscore subnet, and this will be created inside my virtual network. The values of my virtual network are stored inside the variable called new vnet, and that has an address prefix of 10.20.30.0/24. This will be the address prefix of my new subnet. Hyphen. Well, what else do we need to create a new subnet? We have the virtual network name given, private subnet, address prefix, and I think that's all. So let's also put this inside a variable called new subnet, right? And then execute that. Okay, looks like that is created as well. So you can retrieve the values of the new subnet and identify whether it is created or not by running this command called get-AZ virtual network subnet config. And I want to get the values of my new subnet which I want to create, which is private underscore subnet, and this is inside my virtual network called $new vnet. All right, let's execute that now. Okay, looks like that's that. Now you need to associate the subnet to the vnet. The way you do that is by getting the values of the subnet and then saying, hey, set these attributes by running this command set-AZ virtual network. You need to set the values of the subnet into the Azure virtual network, and then you execute this. Looks like that's done. Let's go to the graphical user interface and verify if the creation of the subnet and vnet is there or not. So I'll go back to my portal and click on virtual networks, refresh this page. I must have a new vnet there. Okay, looks like our vnet called alpha beta is created. Let's go and verify if we have subnets there. There you go, our subnet called private underscore subnet is created. Similarly, you can create the second subnet inside it as well.